Hey, everybody, welcome to a very special and raw, unedited episode of the podcast with somebody who I've become very close with over the last several weeks because I feel like we've been cut from the same cloth on different sides of the country. Today, I'm going to talk with my one-to-one online client, Emmett, who's just finished up his 12 weeks, and somebody that has gone from bodybuilding and a very successful bodybuilding career into a functional athlete where he now looks like somebody who's about to step on stage but can perform at a very high level. Some of the things we're going to be getting into in today's show. And if you are in the Guards, we're going to talk about Garda fitness preparation here as well, something that Emmett has set up as a side hustle that he's supporting and serving people in that space. Emmett, welcome to the podcast.
Brian, how are you? How are things?
Things are amazing. Emmett, before we get into it, and I want to keep this super casual, and it's always funny because like me and you could chat for hours back and forth because we have so much in common between, what we're interested in, etc. But for those that are listening, talk to us a little bit about your backstory because, yes, you were into bodybuilding, you're in the Guards now, but you were in the Army, so you came into this with quite a good background with fitness, and we've completely shifted your training away from that bro split into that functional athlete where you literally now look like you're about to step on stage, but without the dietary restrictions, without the rigidity in the body, putting in the flexibility, the mobility. So talk to us a little bit about your backstory into fitness first, and then we'll kind of go into what got you into bodybuilding and then into this, transition out to more of a functional based athlete that we've built over the last 12 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I can't recommend you enough. We've become very close over the last few weeks, so massively appreciate it. And your new book is absolutely a weapon. I love it. So yeah, just back into myself, I suppose all of my life I would have been into a mixture of sports, hurling, football, bit of running here and there. And then when I was 21, I joined the army. So kind of quick enough transition out of school. And I suppose the army is primarily fixated on health and fitness, really. I couldn't recommend it enough for the likes of a young fella or a young girl going into the army just to kickstart their journey with fitness in general. So I got a lot of benefit from that. And then in 2013, I actually went overseas to Lebanon just on a peacekeepers trip. And I suppose a lot of the guys that I was over there with were older than me, jacked, into the weights, into the bodybuilding style. And I was like, you know what? I'd start training with them. And out of nowhere, I kind of thought to myself, I'm not too bad at this. I kind of gained a bit of muscle here and there because I suppose just keeping up with the likes of them really pushed me on. And to cut to the chase, when I came home from Lebanon, then I joined a weight training club where I'm originally from. And I met with a kind of a mentor there now who's still one of my best friends to this day. And he guided me along the process of kind of sculpting the body, strict diet, bro split, and that worked for several years. Entered a couple of shows then, was quite successful from the beginning, had a number of Irish titles, was on the Irish bodybuilding team, went abroad to Santa Susana in Spain, and placed in the top 10 out of a very large category there. And that was it. I was kind of at the end of my competing days after the Europeans because at that stage, I had no little boy, I had freedom in the army, and I had a lot of spare time. But yeah, look, it's very regimental, and I don't think it's something that, unless you're going to go pro, I don't think it's something that's sustainable long term, to be totally honest. But I gained massive discipline from it, especially with food, training, and just all around discipline. Also, I was always kept into my running quite a bit as well. I never really kind of neglected my cardio, which was a massive thing. And I kind of transitioned into a bit of running, but more so bro split for years. And then I think up until this year, I was after reading a few of your books, The Fitness Mindset, Rewire Mindset, got so much from them. And you resonated with me quite a bit. Same as yourself, you have a little girl, I have a little boy, come from bodybuilding backgrounds, and just the kind of same mindset, to be totally honest. And I was at a point where I felt I was just tipping away. I'm kind of known for my bit of fitness and whatnot, but I was just tipping away. I was just about 60%, and I kind of had to make the decision in my own head to either make something of my ability for the fitness and change it up in a healthy, flexible way, or just continue doing the bro split and not really get much from my workouts. And that's when I went to yourself for the one-to-one training. And I would never look back. I'm gaining lean muscle from the program. I've become flexible, mobile. My cardio is at its highest peak ever. And my body composition is probably at its best, to be totally honest with you. So that's really where I'm at, Brian. Yeah. So yeah.
It's been insane for people listening. I will link up clips and you'll be able to see the progress from Emmett. And because of your background, obviously we're very similar builds in terms of
Yeah.
our kind of mesomorph. We put on muscle quite easily, but you still have to gear the program. And one of the advantages of the one-to-one is everything's specific. So literally we hopped on that front end call. You went through your whole history, what worked, what training you liked, etc. And then I built the program around that in terms of very functional elements. Now it was hard. I'm not going to paint any picture for anyone that thinks that this was an easy process. Those workouts, I tested them because this happens with a handful of people. You were one of them, Emmett, where I will test out the program to see how it feels. And then I'll send it over to you and make the design. Because we were at a similar level, I was able to play around with your workouts, and like they were intense. You had a good, very good bro base in terms of your kind of strength, time and retention, etc. And you also had a bit of sprint training at the end, but we kind of ramped everything up to another level. Out of curiosity, what was it that made you think? And I actually have never asked you this, because I don't think I asked you this in the original call, so this would be new for me as well. What was the moment or the time period that made you think, right, I need to get more functional and be more athletic? For example, when I went back playing football after competing in bodybuilding, I was, for the first time ever, at the back of the queue for runs, because I was like, my aerobic fitness was so bad. I was way bigger than normal because of the size I put on with bodybuilding. And I had a real wake up call that, wow, I'm all mirror muscles now. I have no function, from somebody that had that sporting background similar to you. What was your, or was there a moment that made you think, I need to shift this? And it might have been from, something that happened with home life. Was it workout related? What was your kind of, that made you think, right, it's not all about aesthetics. I can get the aesthetics, and we have that now. As you said, you look as good now as you ever have, but you have all the function as well. What was your process, or what was your journey like for that specifically?
So what was happening to me was I'm very consistent with training as much as I can outside of work and my little boy. And I was just going through the motions bodybuilding. And then, as I said to you previously, I've always been into my bit of cardio. So yeah, here and there I get the notion to go for a run. And I wasn't good on them runs at all. I was struggling on the runs where I shouldn't have, up to a 5K. And whereas before I would be extremely light on my feet. And I said to myself, something has to change. I'm not feeling light on my feet. I'm not feeling healthy. I'm stocky or whatever. It's not about aesthetics. I needed to change up to mobility. I'm getting older as well. I'm not 25 anymore. I'm now 35. So that was an aha moment for me. My runs incorporating with the bro split, the bodybuilding split, something needed to change. I was not flexible at the same time. And I just wasn't feeling that my overall cardio was at, I was probably at about 30%, to be totally honest. And I'm past the phase of looking very good. It's about how I function and how I look now in regards to just looking like a bodybuilder. That's not what I'm after. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. And the irony of it is, and we're very similar, and I know people listening be in a different boat, but we're very similar in the sense that process versus outcome, because we train a specific way, and we train very, very similarly because of the way I designed your program. And I actually took some of your elements of your program and put it into mine. But we now look like bodybuilders to a degree. You still have that lean muscle tissue, that low level of body fat, but you've got all this functional ability now as well, which is incredible, because you can have both. People think, and I won't lie, you asked me 15 years ago, I thought you had to pick one or the other. I didn't think you could be super athletic and be looking like, lean, aesthetic, fitness model, bodybuilder, etc. But again, it's all in your programming and your nutrition. I'm going to ask you in a minute about the favorite part of the program, because I've done your workouts, as I've said, so I've got my parts that I really liked. But with the food, we had to only make small tweaks and changes to that, because you had a very good nutritional base. With the food, instead of going into the specifics, because we spent a lot of time on your training element, we fine-tuned it. We obviously adjusted the macros, etc. We built in a bit of a flexible approach, because you've done the tracking, you've done the every macro that goes into your body, and you said to me on the first call, I want a bit of food freedom with this. And I 100% get that. I was exactly the same. I had a previous client, Michelle, who was nearly identical from her background in physique competitions. With the food, how did you find, and I'm going to flip this question. How did you find the focus with performance in the training and how it's synced up with your food versus when you were tracking intensity? Because workouts wouldn't be as high intensity,
Yeah,
they wouldn't have been as they're way more body composition based on a
yeah,
more calorie
exactly.
tracked macro plan. How did you find the food in relation to the functional training?
Oh, unbelievable. First and foremost, the mindset was way looser. I found it easier day to day. There was no homework where I'm writing down meal one, two, three, four. That wasn't there at all. I had a base for my nutrition from the start. But with you, you just went through my original diet and just added in a little bit of food here and there, nothing major, no calories, how many grams of calories are in a nut, nothing like that. It was very flexible, and that enabled me to go and put more performance into my workouts. I was able to function at a higher level, to be totally honest, especially when it came to the cardio aspects. With my sprint training, with my plyometrics, box jumps, lunges, I felt much lighter on my feet. And that's worth its weight in gold, to be totally honest with you. Whereas before, I suppose, if you were bodybuilding and whatnot, you're tracking every single meal, chicken, broccoli, rice. That can drain you mentally.
Mm.
It's homework. And in essence, you're not really enjoying your workouts as much in the gym. So to answer your question, yeah, the diet was lovely and flexible, nothing too rigid, wasn't stressed at all. If anything, I didn't retain any water in my body because my body wasn't stressed.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you can only lead a horse to water as well, to be totally honest with you. You really can. It's not down to yourself to hold anybody's hand or anything like that. You can just, I think you have a great knack of just enhancing someone's diet without causing any stress on them at all. And that's gold, to be totally honest. So yeah.
I really appreciate that, Emmett.
Yeah.
And you're right, because the approach we take and we took was very much down to your circumstance. And I have different people doing different things. I've got one of my guys at the minute who's preparing for his wedding, and he
Yeah.
is tracking his calories and his macros because he's like, look, I've got a wedding. This is the date. I need to be in shape for the wedding. So I'm
Yeah.
like, cool. We'll track the calories, track the macros, mini bodybuildery style. So
Yeah.
different things work for different people. And again, what was worked for you was very similar to me. When you switch your training to function, you're now, the food is fueling the workouts versus bodybuilding where it's like the training's never going to be as intense. Although it's hard, it's not as intense. You have to really tighten in your nutrition and your diet. You mentioned there the box jumps, the plyometrics, etc. Did you have a favorite part of your program? Not necessarily the most difficult part, but was there a favorite part, something that you hadn't done previously
Yeah.
that you've added in now, something that you're going to keep? One of the lines I've used for the one-to-one is 12 weeks for 12 months. I try and set people up. Now, some stay on because I have people at the start of their journey, they're
Yeah.
beginners, and they need more work, and people that like the consistency, etc. But the front end for me is always, like you said, horse to water. Teach a man to fish, teach a woman to fish. Like, I don't want to be there for the next 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, because
No,
then I haven't done my job as a coach.
exactly.
And again, so that's my process and philosophy. Is there anything with the training that you've taken from the last 12 weeks that you're going to be applying yourself? Now, we'll get into June because you've set a
Yeah.
big goal and target that we're going to
Yeah.
talk about in a moment. But in terms of the training, anything that you're going to take specifically that you enjoyed?
Drop sets.
Mm.
Drop sets. So for anybody who doesn't really know, a drop set is choosing a heavy weight, then going consistently lighter straight away, and then lighter again and lighter again. Drop sets and change of movements. Your workouts are faster. You're not lazing around on the phone for 5 minutes in between a workout. Drop sets are massive. Lightening the weight and just slow and controlled movements, time under tension, is a game changer. And also on top of that is the explosive cardio workouts at the end of your weight session. So either the sprints, like your box jumps, your lunges. You gave me quite a few of these plank to push up. So it's a core workout. You're on your two hands and you're doing a push up in between. Horrendous, but absolute game changer as well for your body composition. But like, to be honest with you, I recall at the start of week one doing the workouts, I was like, I can't finish these at all. Like, and that's at the time you're like, oh my God, I'm in bits. But once you're finished, you're like, that's exactly what I want, because there's no point in you giving me 10 different workouts. It's too much options. Those workouts were so intense. By the end of phase one, I was just about finishing them. That's exactly what I want. But drop sets and yeah, the plank to push ups is something I will keep because it's a bit of a self motivation to finish them. So, and also just on top of that as well, like I think you emphasize a lot on your core.
Mm.
People just tip away at core and they move on from it. With your core workouts, my core has never ever been in this shape, and that's including when I was bodybuilding, and they're all down to the functional movements as well. So it's just amazing, to be totally honest. Like, yeah,
It's I'm so glad you brought up that point, Emmett, because
yeah,
I'm in a small group of coaches who's a big believer in training core and abs from different directions, with weights, without weights, functionally, and different
mm,
movements, because a lot of people kind of brush over it. And it's interesting because this is practice what I preach. I eat my own cooking on this, because regularly, similar to you, people will look at my ab shape and go, how is there so much definition and
yeah,
thickness? I'm like, well, I train them. I was like, they're not just a movement that gets hit with a couple of reps at the end of a set or at the end of a workout. They get hit hard and
yeah,
they get hit functionally, and that's what gives them shape. Whereas a lot of people go in and do some sit-ups at the end or some crunches at the end, and they just kind of it's a box tick at the end of a workout,
it
and
is.
that's fine if it's not a priority.
Yeah,
That's totally fine. But if you want strong functional movement patterns and be able to perform at a high level, or aesthetically pleasing core and abs, you need to train it
yeah,
specifically and intentionally. I want to ask and pull out, because a couple of more things that would be really valuable for people. One of the things I loved, and we're very similar here. We're, again, between the side hustle you've set up, which we'll talk about in a moment, with GardaFitnessPreparation.ie, that people can click out and check in the link in the description for anyone that's got the Garda test or the fitness test and they want to improve. You're serving this market specifically, which is amazing for people. So that link would be in the description. But you've also signed up for a marathon on June 1st, if I'm not mistaken. Is
that's
the
correct.
date?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Talk to us a little bit about that. And also, because of your, again, mindset and I'll figure it out as we go along, but also what we've done with the training, it's given you a lot of confidence in your body to be able to perform this. It's a different energy system,
yeah,
obviously going more aerobic, etc. But
yeah,
that foundational fitness. Talk to us a little bit about the reasoning for signing up to the marathon,
yeah.
and how the program has kind of given you that base, and now you've added the runs in on top of that. Just because I think there's a lot of people here who, similar to you, so very similar to me, background in bodybuilding, either competitions or just in the gym lifting weights, functional athletes, and are like, well, actually, I wouldn't mind stressing myself with a half marathon, full marathon, etc. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, first is to start off on the training aspect of it. With the amount of functional movements in your program and the cardio at the end, that has unlocked all my cardio doors. My doors were basically locked because it was just a bro split, bodybuilding split. Let's go do some chest and back and triceps and a little bit of abs at the end. It's unlocked all my cardio aspects, especially mentally, because in my head now, I'm like, I feel way lighter on my feet. I could actually run a marathon. That was the first and foremost aspect of it. And then the second reason is, obviously, I have a little boy and he's 4, and he's my boy. He's the reason why I push on and tick my boxes and goals, similar to yourself with Holly. But there's a foundation through the guards. It's called Little Blue Heroes. I think sure everybody is aware of it. And a colleague of mine, he unfortunately lost his son a couple of years ago due to an illness. And I just wanted to give something back in relation to, God forbid that was ever me in his shoes. And why not do it when I'm at the peak of my fitness levels, you know? So what I'm going to do is the full Cork City Marathon in full Garda uniform. Glutton for punishment, but I'm under no duress or stress for time. It's just a matter of finishing it, you know. And I suppose no better time than at the end of this program to drive on with it. It's good timing. It's about 10 weeks away, so I can tip away, you know. So um, that's the whole reasoning for it. I just work well off goals, to be totally honest, and I like a good challenge. I've never run a marathon before. I ran a half marathon when I was in the army, way younger, way lighter, but I have the mindset to finish it. That's all it is. I'm not under pressure, but I think it'll be a great cause. And yeah, hopefully I finish on it. I'll be highlighted um, in fluorescent stab vest, just in case I don't make it. I'll be lying on the ground somewhere, but I'll be okay.
So if anyone is doing that marathon and they see just yellow on the floor, just pick him it up and just
That's me.
carry him a
Yeah,
little bit until he
exactly.
can move again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it'll be pretty hot in full Garda uniform. So fair play. Like, as I said to you, I said this privately, but I'll say it publicly too. Like, it's an incredible cause, an incredible
It
thing
is.
you're doing, and when you put yourself in that perspective, sometimes when you have these big goals for yourself, the reason to why you're doing it
Yeah.
is really enough to get you to the start line and get you to the finish line in a
Yeah.
lot of cases. So fair play.
Nice.
I want to finish up. The last thing, Emmett, is on the Garda fitness preparation for people, because this isn't an area I serve directly.
Yeah.
So it's great that I'm now a reference point for guards because of your authority in this space and being able to help people with it. For those who are listening who potentially are in the guards, so this will be very specific to those niche people that are listening, what are some of the things that they struggle when it comes to the Garda's fitness preparation test in general? And then what we'll do is we'll give advice and tips to how you approach that, because this is general fitness for people as well. It's not just specifically for this test. But talk to us a little bit about what people struggle with in terms of the preparation for that, and then I'll unpack one or two things that will help the general population listening too.
Yeah, I think it's been positive because obviously the age limit has been increased to 50, which is great because you're getting that more mature, seasoned mindset into the job. But a lot of these people have kids, they're coming from different careers, they've never been in a gym in their life, some of them. They struggle with weight control. But however, they really would make a good guard and they really want to join the job. A lot of them are falling down on, let's say, the beep test. And that's okay because they've never run before, and some people have and still struggle with a beep test. So what we do is just basically give them an emphasis and a structured program on how to pass the beep test, we'll say, to get in, and an obstacle course. But it's a bit more than that. But we'd say, we don't want anybody for a quick fix to get over the line, because what it is, it's the bigger picture. At the end of the day, if they want to join the job, it's going to benefit their own health and well-being. And especially, once you start working night shifts and whatnot, that's very easy to get caught up in. With home life, they're busy outside of the job, food, lack of sleep, and hopefully we can just give them enough structure and tips on how to manage and control their health and well-being going forward, and just improve their cardio levels all around, really. And in particular, people that are in the job, I'm sure there's plenty of them there that would just love a bit of a change in relation to fitness and health and all that. And nights, I work nights myself. They're tough on the body, no matter how fit you are. And it's very specific to the job as well. Like, we have a lot of sprint workouts, real life situations that would maybe encounter some of the members going forward, like, as in going from 0 to 100 miles per hour in 2 seconds. No, it doesn't happen to everybody, but the general aspect is just to increase their overall fitness levels, no matter what the age as well. If they're just starting out or if they're 50, it doesn't really matter. But we have a good number of clients at the moment, and they're after making immense progress. A lot of them have passed the fitness test and have now gone in. Some are awaiting the fitness test. But a lot of it is accountability. I think they're actually more capable than they think. And it's just having that bit of structure, especially being in a shift working pattern and job, and just unlocking their confidence, as you would say.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
I think you've indirectly answered as well how it would apply to the general person or population. Is that accountability is massive. Like, just having someone that you're accountable to when it comes to your training or your nutrition or a fitness test that you're training for. I think this goes across the board, which indirectly leads me on to the final question, which is a completely selfish thing to ask, because I'm going to clip up sections of this podcast, but and feel free to answer it in any direction you want, as honestly as you can. For the one-to-one coaching, Emmett, specifically, because of the way that I run it, it's capped. It's 1 in, 1 out, so someone has to finish their 12 weeks and not carry on for someone else to come in. So I have it capped, so I don't promote it much, apart from things like this where people know it's a offer that I have. But who would you recommend the one-to-one for, specifically after your experience over the last 12 weeks?
Great question, right? First and foremost, if you're at a high level or a decent level, taking yourself from that 60% to the 100%, it is an absolute game changer of a program. You will unlock your absolute capability all around, for sure. And especially, you will learn so much from you. If you're looking to go on and train other people, I have learned so much in how professionally you've dealt with me, and I can then in return pass it on to my clients. But also for people that have never ever trained in their life, any levels whatsoever, I just think you're very professional in your approach. You don't put stress on your clients. There's no homework as such. The workouts are absolutely amazing. I have years of experience and I wouldn't have thought of half of them workouts, to be totally honest with you. So I can't recommend it enough, to be totally honest. It's definitely the best. It's the best choice I've ever made in relation to my fitness career, by second to none. And as I said previously, it's after unlocking all my doors now to go and do a marathon while in shape. I wouldn't have ever dreamed of it, to be honest. So I recommend it to absolutely anybody. But first and foremost, they want to make a decision that they're going to actually commit to the 12 weeks. You're well known, you're a highly professional guy. But what I would say to everybody is, before joining your program, take it serious. Make an executive decision before even contacting you, and just say that I'm going to succeed in these 12 weeks and I'm going to do what I'm meant to do, without question, if they really want to benefit themselves in the long run. I think you have to be mentally prepared for it. And I'm not saying it's mentally challenging, it's not. But if you want to change your life for the better, absolutely do it. 100%. Yeah.
Mate, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And again, the last 12 weeks have been a pleasure because we have so much in common. We've
We do.
actually gone completely off script on some of our check-ins where we're like chatting shit back and forth and what's going on in life, which is great. Like I love that I get to do that. So mate, thank you so much for your time, for the kind words, and for those that are listening, particularly those that are guards preparing for this test, or any family members or friends who are struggling with this area. I'm going to link www.guardthefitnesspreparation.ie below for those to check on off the back of it. Emmett, keep doing what you're doing, mate. Best of luck on the 1st of June. We'll be chatting anyway plenty of times between now and then. But mate, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Brian. You're a jet man. Thank you.